What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here, and welcome to our daily show where we discuss the fourth stimulus check update, the two new upcoming packages. Part one, the physical infrastructure package, which is now passed in the Senate, was passed, like a few days ago now at this point. And part two, the next stimulus package, which they are working on passing in the Senate. They have passed the first two votes on in the Senate. Remember, it's a multi-vote process, and they are working on that in the Senate at this point. They're working on pretty much like the negotiation and the multi-vote process. We'll be talking about that and multiple different things going on in the United States and in Washington, D.C. Also, some interesting information about how Nancy Pelosi might be stepping down in the near future. So if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. I will be keeping you up to date about everything going on in our country here. Remember, new videos come out every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's jump right in. We got a lot to cover. Also, thanks for liking these videos. It really helps out our channel. All right, here we go. Okay, remember how President Biden has done this emergency eviction moratorium where they have extended the eviction moratorium until October 3rd. Well, a federal judge has just rejected an effort to block the eviction moratorium. Check this out. A federal judge in Washington, D.C. today rejected a request from a group of landlords to block Biden's administration's renewed eviction moratorium. The ruling by U.S. District Judge Dabney Friedrich, a Trump appointee, actually, leaves intact the CDC's extended eviction freeze, which is set to run until early October, October 3rd, actually. The development comes after Friedrich ruled in May that a previous version of the CDC's eviction suspension was an illegal exercise of the agency's authority. Very interesting. This time around, she ruled differently because remember, this is a different ruling. The CDC has found a different way to extend the eviction moratorium. Though she agreed at the time to delay enforcement of her decision the last time around, citing the risk to the public health if the evictions were allowed to proceed. The ensuing months have seen a flurry of political and court activity related to the eviction freeze as the Delta variant has spread through some of the most eviction-vulnerable communities in the U.S. The moratorium has faced numerous court challenges leading to multiple different interpretations through the courts, and we'll probably see several more challenges, probably even going back to the Supreme Court. So at this point, the eviction moratorium that is set to go until October 3rd could be extended even further. Again, with the pandemic, over 100,000 new daily cases going on every single day. I mean, this could go on for a long time. There could be more lawsuit challenges. This could go on again into the Supreme Court. Remember, the Supreme Court ruled that the eviction moratorium should be stricken down. But remember, the Biden administration has found a new way to rise up the new eviction moratorium. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on here in the near future. I will keep you updated on this evolving kind of lawsuit situation. Okay, there's also a new lawsuit filed in Missouri to bring back weekly $300 federal unemployment benefit boosts and to bring back unemployment benefits, extended unemployment bonuses. So Missouri is the most recent state to sue their governor, the Republican governor, that has opted out of the unemployment benefit bonuses. Okay, so Missouri, the most recent state. Louisiana is the second state, joining Ohio, to reject the lawsuit, basically filing against these people. And as you can see here, Louisiana judge rejects the request to resume the $300 per week federal benefits for jobless residents. So my current tally of lawsuits is Maryland, the people have won. Indiana, the people have won. Indiana, I have a note here that Indiana is retroactive. I'm not sure about Maryland. Maybe you know in the comments, you can comment that. Arkansas, the people have won. Oklahoma, the people have won. And I think that's it so far. Ohio, the people have lost. And now Louisiana, the people have lost. So far, there have been 4 states that the people have won, suing their Republican governors, and 2 states that the people have lost. So now note that this is lawsuits where their own states. Obviously it's their own states where the lawsuits take place, and their own state judges that the lawsuits take place. Now, note that in almost all these states, there can be appeals and there can be new judgments. Now, in a couple of these states, the states have said, okay, well, we're not going to appeal it anymore. You guys have won, and that's it. You won. It's over. So there can be some states that are maybe appealing, but I know that there have been a couple of them that said, all right, you guys have won. We're not gonna challenge it anymore. In fact, the Oklahoma unemployment lawsuit was just a few days ago. You can see here, Oklahoma judge orders state to resume federal unemployment benefits. Now, I have an update on Florida here. Florida unemployment lawsuit has been transferred to Tallahassee. So, yeah, a South Florida judge ruled on Tuesday to move a Florida unemployment lawsuit to Tallahassee. I have not seen an unemployment update on Texas. Let me know if you've seen an unemployment update on Texas or any of the other states down below in the comments. Bill Gates says that he will pledge $1.5 billion for climate change projects if Congress passes the infrastructure bill. Now, remember, the infrastructure bill has been passed in the Senate, but it still has to pass in the House of Representatives without any changes and then go on to the president to be signed. Remember, if the House of Representatives passes it with changes, it will then have to go back to the Senate to be passed. Remember, both the House and the Senate have to pass the exact same version of the bill. We've seen that with the third stimulus check package, where the House passed it first, and then the Senate made significant changes. They actually removed the $15 an hour minimum wage, lowered the income threshold for the third stimulus check, and then added in that $10,200 unemployment provision, which actually gave a significant extra check for anybody who had unemployment income last year. The check could have been anywhere from several $100s to several $1,000s. I had hundreds of you guys say in the comments you got unemployment extra checks or unemployment refunds anywhere from over $2,000 to over $3,000 because of that extra stimulus provision in there that basically said that you would get all of the taxes you paid on up to $10,200 of unemployment income. You would get all those taxes back, and that actually can actually lower your taxes. Your whole tax, it can adjust all of your taxes. It can actually lower your whole tax bracket as well. And some of you guys got over $3,000 back. So if they didn't actually add that stimulus provision in there at the very last moment, you wouldn't have got that $2,000 or $3,000 stimulus check back, or stimulus provision check, whatever you want to call it. I always get some people that argue with me. Say, it's not a stimulus check, but it was added in there as a stimulus provision. It was in the stimulus package. I don't know, whatever you want to call it, right? It's a check from the government in the stimulus package. Doesn't matter, right? It's a check from the government that they added at the very last moment, right? Let's hope they add some stimulus provisions like that in this next stimulus package. And let's hope they add lots of stimulus provisions in there that are going to provide thousands of dollars of checks in this next package, right? It doesn't matter what they call it. They can call it a stimulus check. They could call it a tax credit. They could call it an adult tax credit. They could call it a yippity-doo-dah check, right? I don't care what they call it, right? Let's just provide relief for lots of people and call it a happy doo-dah day check, right? It doesn't matter, right? Let's just provide relief to Americans, right? You could tell me what you want them to call it, right? Let's just provide relief. Now, in an interesting story here from disabilityscoop.com, in reversal, Social Security says that stimulus checks won't affect SSI benefits. The Social Security Administration recently changed its policy on how stimulus payments affect supplemental security income benefits. People with disabilities can save money received through stimulus checks and other relief programs indefinitely without losing their supplemental security income benefits thanks to a recent rule change. The Social Security Administration modified its policy this month on how it will treat various forms of financial assistance that has come about since the start of the pandemic. Previously, the agency had indicated that stimulus checks, also known as economic impact payments, would not be considered income for SSI recipients, and that they would be excluded from resources for 12 months. Now, however, that exclusion has no end date. Quote, the 12-month time frame for resources no longer applies as these assistance payments provided during the pandemic, including EIPs or stimulus checks, meet all the criteria to be considered disaster assistance. By law, disaster assistance is excluded from SSI income for resource determinations. The new policy also applies to money received by SSI beneficiaries through some state stimulus payments. Remember, several different states have issued state stimulus payments in the past, and California has state stimulus checks coming out for round 2 of the state stimulus check for $600 and up to $1,100 for people with children, $600 plus $500 for a $500 extra check for people with children. And unemployment assistance, the Emergency Rental Assistance Fund, and several other programs. There are 8 million Americans receiving SSI benefits. The maximum federal payments is $794 per month. Generally speaking, individuals with receiving SSI cannot have more than $2,000 to their name at any given time without losing benefits. So basically, if you can only have $2,000 to your name and you got that $1,400 stimulus check, that kind of puts you close to like the maximum amount that you could have. So SSI said that most people who had their SSI benefits adjusted after receiving their stimulus payments will not need to take any action. We are reviewing SSI claims and any other SSI records going back to the beginning of the pandemic to restore SSI payments for people who had SSI affected, the agency said. A news story from The Atlantic says that Nancy Pelosi could be stepping down at the end of the next term. Check this out. Sometime in the not-so-distant future, probably after next year's midterm election, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi will announce that she's stepping down. Her top deputies, Majority House Leader Steny Hoyer and Majority Whip Jim Clyburn, aspire to her job, but they're also in their early 80s. Note that Nancy Pelosi is currently 81 years of age, and when she goes up for re-election next year, she will be 82, and assuming she wins, because both Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell, every time they go up for re-election, they win by huge, huge landslides. So if she wins next year for another 2-year term, she'll be 82, and win it for another 2 years, she will be 84 years old. She'll be 84 years old when she goes up for another 2-year term. So by the way, as you can kind of see here, I might be in the corner, but Nancy Pelosi has been a representative for California since 1987. For comparison purposes, on the other side of the aisle, Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader of the Senate, the minority leader now, used to be the majority leader last year, he's 79 years old, and he was just reelected in the Senate by a huge margin of victory. But remember, senators serve 6-year terms, so he will be in the Senate till he is at least 85 years old. Again, senators serve 6-year terms. House of Representatives only serve 2-year terms. Mitch McConnell also won by a landslide, so he will be in the Senate until he's 85 years old. And that's if he doesn't decide to run again. If he decides to run again when he's 85 years old, he will go until he's, 91 years old? Yeah. Mitch McConnell has been a senator since since 1985. Yeah. By the way, as you can see here, Mitch McConnell is 79 years old. Nancy Pelosi is 81 years old. But Joe Biden is actually younger than both of them at 78 years old. So Joe Biden is actually younger than both Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi. Now, of course, presidents can only serve 2 terms at 4 years each for 8 years. But we have politicians in the House and the Senate that can basically serve forever. Literally since the 1980s, some of them 30, 40 years. Now, the problem with this is, we always see that, oh, there needs to be term limits on congressmen and congresswomen. There needs to be term limits, term limits. The problem with term limits is that Congress has to be the ones to pass term limits. So they would literally have to pass a law to limit themselves on term limits. The House and the Senate would have to pass a law limiting themselves, limiting their own income on term limits. Let me know your thoughts on this down below in the comments. Do you think there should be term limits? Or do you think people should be allowed to be in there for 30 or 40 years? It's kind of a double-edged sword because you get some good ones in there that are actually you get the feeling that they're kind of for the people. And but the problem is then you get some people that it feels like they have been in there forever. And they kind of lose touch with the common everyday people. Yeah. And they have this, this rule for presidents that they can only serve 2 terms, 8 years. But then there's no rule or limit for congressmen. Yeah, let me. I can't wait to read the comments on this one in the comments section. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. Now, Democrats have introduced a bill to ensure that corporations will pay their fair share of taxes, and that the wealthy will pay their fair share of taxes to pay for this next stimulus package. 2 different things here have come about within the last few days to pay for this next stimulus package. Couple interesting things. One, for corporations, under the bill, Democrats said that there will be a 7% surtax on companies that pay over $100 million. On companies that make over $100 million. So this is to prevent corporations that, like Amazon, that make $11 billion in a year and make or pay no taxes. So you can see here, Democrats said would raise $700 billion in revenue over 10 years. A 7% surtax would be implemented per dollar in book income over $100 million. Democrats said the bill would also allow only such companies to claim a credit of 1/3 of their paid federal income taxes. Elizabeth Warren also wants the $3.5 trillion stimulus package to help the IRS target the wealthy tax cheats, saying, quote, "For too long, the wealthiest Americans have been able to use a raft of accountants, tax strategists, financial advisors, lawyers, and lobbyists to avoid paying their fair share in taxes. The top 1% of Americans fail to report more than 1/5 of their income on their tax returns, and they account for more than 1/3 of all unpaid federal income taxes." Specifically, Warren and Bernie Sanders and White House urged IRS Commissioner Charles Rettig to answer a litany of questions designed to show how incremental congressional funding would help the IRS better enforce the tax code. The Treasury Department, which oversees the IRS, estimates the tax gap will balloon to $7 trillion over the next decade. The department did not immediately respond to CNBC's request for comments. So they're trying to shore up as much money as they can because $7 trillion potentially goes uncollected over just the next decade. And if they can collect up to $7 trillion or even half that, that's a lot of money. Half of that money alone would be all the money that they need to pay for this next stimulus package. Yeah, so let me know your thoughts on everything. As I said, there's a lot going on. They've just passed the first part, the infrastructure package in the Senate. They've passed two parts of the next stimulus package this week. I know it feels like it's been a long time, but it's literally only been, what, like a couple days since they passed part one and the first two parts of this next stimulus package. So they've actually got a lot going on this week. So I will keep you up to date with everything. Remember, new videos come out here on our channel every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure to subscribe down below and don't miss out on any new videos at this point. You can click this top video here to watch my newest stimulus check video next. And this video is a brand new video I did about Social Security raises that are coming out here pretty soon. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.